We have written evidence that Christians in Rome believed that Jesus was born on December 25th.
Has it always been December 25th, or has that evolved over time?
In the West, the Latin-speaking West, December 25th was always the day for celebrating Christmas. In the Greek-speaking East, they celebrated Christmas and Epiphany at the same time on January 6th. But then they eventually followed the Roman custom and moved the birth of Jesus to December 25th and then kept the Epiphany at January 6th.
What do you know why they moved it? Like the thing that I've always heard is that December 25th was originally a pagan holiday.
Well, it gets really complicated. So here's what we know. The Romans celebrated a feast of the Unconquered Sun, S-U-N, sometime in the 300s. And then 40 years later, Christians started celebrating December 25th as the birth of the Son of God, S-O-N. So the theory was, oh, well, they were just co-opting a pagan holiday. Here's the problem with that theory. Another 40 years before the Romans instituted that feast, we have written evidence that Christians in Rome believed that Jesus was born on December 25th. They didn't celebrate it as a feast then, but we know they thought he was born on December 25th before the Romans instituted that pagan feast.
Is it a little bit 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, chicken and the egg kind of thing? Like somehow these two things came together. We're not entirely sure how.
It could be a pure coincidence, but the other fascinating possibility is not that the Christians were co-opting the Romans, but that the Romans were trying to co-opt the Christians.
Why is that? Why is there a difference, I guess?
So, in other words, there's the possibility that the pagan Romans felt threatened by the growing number of Christians, and to steal their thunder, they slap on this feast of the Unconquered Sun on the date when the Christians believed that Jesus, their Messiah, was born.
Is this a hotly debated subject amongst experts like yourself, or is this kind of like, look, we don't know?
There is absolutely no consensus. There are a number of different theories. We just don't know.
When we kind of look back at it, like to me personally, religious or not, Christmas is like, that's the holiday. That's the big holiday by a long stretch. Was it a big deal back then?
I don't know how big it started, but it quickly grew to be big. So, for example, I mentioned they probably celebrated in the 300s an octave, 8 days of celebration. By the 500s, they're celebrating the 12 days of Christmas. They've extended the merriment from December 25th to January 6th, Feast of the Epiphany.
How come we lost all those days? Like, I want those days back.
Oh my goodness, by the time you get to the Middle Ages, the 12 days of Christmas were 12 days of unbroken merriment. Shops would be closed, law courts would be closed. You made sure that you had all the firewood you needed, all the meat you needed prior to Christmas. Even your farm animals were supposed to get off the 12 days of Christmas. It was like the greatest period of leisure in the entire year.
What would you say was kind of the low point of Christmas? Like, where did you, like, oh, we almost lost it? Or as close as we came to almost losing it?
The 19th century Puritan Boston, they suppressed the holiday. And then in England, when they had their revolution and the monarchy was toppled, this is in the 1600s, Oliver Cromwell, I think, took over. They suppressed Christmas, and the police would literally walk through the streets on Christmas Day, and if they smelled a Christmas goose being cooked, they would bang on the door, arrest the family, and throw them into jail.
Oh my God. How did they do that? I mean, that's like throwing the whole city into jail at the end of it.
Oh my gosh, the English hated it. The Puritans eventually held out, but Oh, the mayor of Canterbury tried to enforce the law, and the townspeople were so furious that, according to the report, every window in his house and every bone in his body was broken.
Oh my God! Did they kill him?
He lived.